In the later seasons of life, there are certain currents that, if left unchecked, can quietly erode your peace, your dignity, and the very future you've earned. This may sound stark, but it is a truth born from the quiet heartbreaks of so many loving parents, mothers and fathers who, having dedicated their lives to their children, find their own needs fading into the background. This happens not because their children are unkind, but because the boundaries, once so clear, have blurred with time. And when boundaries vanish, love can begin to ache. It transforms into guilt, obligation, and a deep, weary exhaustion. But you are and always will be a whole person with your own needs, your own space, and your own precious time. Protecting these things becomes more vital with each passing year. The first of these currents is disrespect. It rarely arrives with a shout. Its most painful form is often a whisper. It is the sarcastic remark that hangs in the air after you've shared an opinion. The subtle roll of an eye when you tell a story from your past. It is your son saying, "That's not how the world works anymore, Mom," as the room chuckles, and you smile along. But deep down, a small, sharp sting reminds you that you've been diminished. You are made to feel outdated, irrelevant, as if your wisdom has expired. And in that moment, you might wonder, am I being too sensitive? No, you are not. You are simply asking for the most fundamental human courtesy. Respect for your voice, for your journey, for the life you have lived. You carried them, you sacrificed for them, so it is not too much to ask that when you speak, they listen without mockery. That is not weakness, it is dignity. And if that dignity is not being honored, you have every right to reclaim it. Not in the heat of an argument, but in a quiet moment, you can say, "When you laugh at my stories, it makes me feel as if I don't matter." Sometimes, that one sentence is enough to shift the tides. The second erosion begins with love, financial dependence. You want to help. You see your child struggle, and your heart moves you to act. A car repair, help with the rent, a credit card bill covered just this once. But then the once becomes a pattern. The phone calls continue, laced with promises and urgency. And you keep giving, not from naivety, but from love. Yet with every withdrawal from the savings you carefully cultivated, you are slowly dismantling the sanctuary you built for your later years. The comfort you worked a lifetime to secure is being given away, piece by piece. That time of rest is now. You have earned it. When your savings become a constant lifeline for a grown child who should be navigating their own waters, the balance has been lost. It is not a punishment to say, "I can no longer help in this way," but I can help you learn to budget. These boundaries are not walls. They are the foundations of their independence and your peace. Your retirement is not their safety net. It is your harbor. Money is more than currency. It is energy, security, and peace of mind. You do not owe your children your peace. You owe yourself a future where you are not lying awake, worrying about their choices, draining your own life away. Then comes a more insidious shadow, emotional manipulation. It wears the mask of love, speaks in the language of guilt, and feels like a pressure on your soul. It's when you finally plan something for yourself, and your daughter's disappointed sigh comes through the phone. "I guess I'll have to cancel my job interview. I thought I could count on you." And just like that, your joy evaporates, replaced by shame. This is how it works. It turns your no into a weapon against you. It makes you feel that in choosing yourself, you are failing them. But love is not an obligation to say yes. You can love your children with all your heart and still set boundaries that protect your own spirit. When you feel that pressure, simply pause. Say, "Let me think about that." In that space, you reclaim your power. You can then respond with clarity and love. I feel pressured when you say that. I need to make this decision for myself. Healthy relationships are not built on silent compliance, but on honest respect. Remember, no is a complete sentence. You do not need to defend your right to your own life. Consider the fourth encroachment. When your time, your home, and your very freedom become their default plan. Your quiet afternoon is shattered by an urgent call to babysit. Your home, once your sanctuary, becomes a revolving door for their convenience, not your connection. Being needed is a wonderful feeling, but when it is always on their terms, when your own plans are treated as secondary, something is deeply wrong. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you begin to fade. Your own life shrinks to fit the spaces left by everyone else's needs. This is not selfish. It is essential to reclaim your time. You can begin gently by setting new expectations. I would love to see the children, but I need a few days' notice to plan. Or, I can help for a few hours, but then I'll need the rest of the day for myself. You do not have to earn your rest. You have already given more than enough. Now, it is your turn to simply be. Boundaries do not damage relationships. They reveal their true nature. They show you who is willing to meet you with respect, and who only valued your constant availability. The fifth is perhaps the most painful of all: emotional neglect. The deepest wounds are not always carved by words, but by silence, by the phone that doesn't ring, by the absence of care when you need it most. You were there for every fever, every heartbreak, every crisis. You were there constant. And now, in your own moment of need, after a surgery, during a loss, the silence is deafening. It is the hollow ache of being invisible. You tell yourself they are busy, that they have their own lives. But love is not just what you give. It is what is returned. You deserve to be seen. You can break the silence, not with guilt, but with honest vulnerability. I've been feeling alone lately. A call now and then would mean the world to me. That is not neediness. It is a human call for connection. And if that call goes unanswered, it may be time to shift your energy. Turn toward those who do show up. A neighbor, a friend, a niece. It is not about closing a door on your children. It is about refusing to wait by it any longer. Finally, there is the subtle cage of constant criticism disguised as concern. When you speak of a new dream, of moving, of learning, of loving again, you are met not with encouragement, but with doubt. Are you sure that's wise at your age? They ask, and your spark of excitement dims to embers of embarrassment. But they do not hold the pen to your story. Not now, not ever. You have lived through decades, weathered storms, and earned your independence. Your life is not a museum of their childhood memories. It is a living, breathing journey. You do not need their permission to live it. This is tied to a final, profound imbalance, the expectation that you will always be the giver of care, but never the recipient. When the giving flows only in one direction, it drains the well of your own spirit. It is time to reclaim your story, your peace, and your light. Not as an act of rejection, but as the ultimate act of self-love. Because your life in all its grace and wisdom is still wholly and beautifully your own. It often begins quietly. One afternoon a week offered in love somehow blossoms into 3, and then 5. Before you know it, the landscape of your retirement starts to resemble a second full-time career. But what happens when you are the one who needs help? When you try to broach the subject of your own care, your health, your future, the air grows still. Suddenly, everyone is too busy, or they gently wave it away. "Oh, don't worry about that now," they say, deftly changing the subject, leaving you with a quiet, growing dread that when your time of need arrives, you will face it alone. This is not merely unfair, it is unsustainable. You are not just a helper. You are not simply a babysitter, a chauffeur, or a complimentary cleaning service. You are a whole person, with a body that feels the weight of the day, a heart that requires moments of peace, and a future that deserves to be planned with intention and care. If you find joy in helping with your grandchildren, that is a beautiful thing. But if you find yourself overwhelmed, exhausted, or harboring a quiet resentment, it is time to say, "I need to reclaim some of this time for myself." That sentence is not born of selfishness. It is an act of survival. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to set limits. You have every right to say, "I can help once a week, but not every day." Or, "I need a few mornings each week that belong only to me." Your time has value. Your energy has value. And just because you are retired, it does not mean your availability is endless. And when it comes to the landscape of your own future, do not wait for a storm to begin building a shelter. Sit down with your loved ones and state it clearly. "I would like for us to make a plan in case I ever need help in the future." Discuss where you might live, who will help with medical decisions, how your finances will be managed. These may feel like heavy conversations, but clarity now prevents the heartache of chaos later. And if your children avoid these discussions, if they are unwilling to contemplate your future needs, it does not mean your voice must fall silent. It means you begin to plan with those who are willing to listen. A trusted friend, a lawyer, a care planner, a neighbor. You do not need your family's permission to protect your own future. You do not need their approval to build a plan that grants you peace of mind. Because what hangs in the balance is your independence, your safety, your dignity. And you have spent a lifetime caring for everyone else. You cannot afford to neglect yourself now. In fact, putting these things in writing, how often you are willing to help, who you entrust with decisions, where your resources are, is one of the greatest kindnesses you can offer both yourself and your family. It removes the guesswork. It dissolves future tension. It ensures your voice is heard, even when you are not in the room to speak. So let us take a breath together and hold these truths close. In this chapter of life, never allow disrespect. Every time someone talks down to you, interrupts you, or dismisses your stories, they erode your sense of self, and you deserve to be heard. Never allow constant financial dependence. If you deplete the resources meant for your own security to help someone who refuses to stand on their own, you are sacrificing your safety for their comfort. Never allow emotional manipulation. Guilt is not a currency of love, and you are allowed to say no without an apology. Never allow your time and space to be used without boundaries. You have earned your rest, and your home is not a perpetually open inn. And never, ever allow neglect. When you are in need, love is not an abstract feeling. It is the presence of your children. It is care. It is a willingness to support the one who once supported everyone else. You are not asking for too much. You are not being difficult. You are not being selfish. You are simply choosing dignity. And if your children do not yet understand that, It is all right to teach them. With kindness, yes. With love, always. But also with strength. Because setting a boundary is not an act of rejection. It is an act of instruction. It is a quiet declaration. This is how I deserve to be treated. It is reminding the world, and perhaps even yourself, that you still matter. You are not just a parent or a grandparent. You are not just a helper, a bank, or a safety net. You are a human being with dreams still unfolding, with immense value, with years left to live fully, deeply, and unapologetically. And if no one else has said this to you today, allow me to be the one. You have permission to reclaim your life, to protect your peace, to rediscover your joy, to live on your own terms. You are not too old to begin again. You are not too late to speak up, and you are certainly not done. If this message resonated in your heart, I invite you to share the words, "I choose dignity," in the comments below, not just as a phrase, but as a promise to yourself. And to continue receiving gentle, honest, and empowering messages for this season of your life, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell so you'll be the first to know when something new arrives. Just for you, because you are not alone. You are not forgotten, and you are far from finished. We will speak again soon. Until then, tend to yourself with care. You are so very worthy of it.